Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started talking about proportions. And proportions are a statement that sets two ratios or rates equal to each other. So if I've got something like 3 over 4 equal to 6 over 8, this right here would be a proportion. Now, one of the things that we can do with a proportion is we can take a look at some different ways of analyzing this. And the main thing with our proportions here is you're going to notice that the product of basically these two corner values is going to be equal to the product of these corner values. So what we're going to do is we're going to start teaching you a process called cross multiplying. And there's a reason why this works. But first off, let's just show you that this 3 times that 8, well, let's just do that. 3 times this 8, it's going to be equal to that 6 times 4. So when we call this cross multiplication, we're just saying, this top of this fraction times the bottom of that fraction is going to be equal to the top of this fraction times the bottom of that one. 3 times 8 is 24, equal to 6 times 4, 24. This is, in fact, what we call a true proportion. This is a true statement. And this is one way to check to see if one fraction is, in fact, equivalent to another fraction. One ratio is equivalent to another ratio. Well, there's more things that we can do with this, though. What happens if we know one thing, or we know one ratio or rate, but we don't have enough information to complete the other one? Well, we're going to be able to complete an incomplete ratio. So we can use this cross multiplication to find our missing values in a proportion. So we've got something like 2 over 3, and I want this to be equal to something like 4 over some sort of unknown number. Let's just call that x for now. We can use any variable we want to here, but x is a convenient one. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to have 2 times x. That's going to be just 2x. And that's going to be equal to this 3 times 4, or 4 times 3. So I've got 2x equal to, looks like 12. And this is something that we can say, well, 2x equal to 12. Let's go ahead and divide both sides by 2. I'm going to take both sides, I'm going to divide by 2, and I'll end up with x is equal to 6. So using this property of proportions, we can find missing values. Now, this is going to get really, really useful when it comes to application problems, and you're going to be able to use this on everything from recipes to engineering. It helps you scale your maps. It helps you do a lot of stuff. So this is fundamentally what we're going to end up doing. Let's go ahead and do another one just to show you how we can do how this can work out. Let's see. Alrighty, how about I do this? I'm going to say, let's say we've got 3 over 8 is equal to well, I'll do this as 9 over n. And again, I'm putting this in this location. This unknown variable could be anywhere, but we're going to go ahead and take the product of these 2 pointers. We're going to cross multiply. So we got 3 times n, and then that's going to be equal to 9 times 8. Okay, so I've got 3n is equal to, looks like 72. So we cross multiply. And then we're going to divide, just like before. Here we're going to divide both sides by 3. And I'll have n is equal to, what's that going to be, 24? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So this is our general process for solving proportions for an unknown quantity. And just to let you know, this doesn't always have to be a whole number. It could be a fraction, it could be a decimal. Typically, I will say, stylistically, I will tell you to, if possible, answer like with like. And this is just stylistic stuff. This tells you that if you were to have a fraction or a decimal in something, then you should answer with a fraction or a decimal. So say I had something like, I like this. This is a good example. Say I had something like 0.5 over n is equal to 1.4 over this 0.7. Oh, that looks weird, doesn't it? Well, let's go ahead and solve something like this. Here I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply, so this is going to be 0.5 times our 0.7. It's going to be equal to 1.4 times my n. So now I've got, this looks like we've got 0.35 is equal to this 1.4n. Now if I divide both sides by 1.4, I'd end up with n is equal to, don't know if I can do that one in my head. And let's see, 0.35 divided by 1.4 would be about 1/4, or that would be 0.25. Now, I could have answered this with 1/4 if I were to take this and multiply, and if I wanted to, I could say, oh well, this is the same thing as 0.35 over this 1.4. I could multiply this by, say, 100 over 100, and end up with 35 over 140, and then start reducing. And we'd soon realize that this would reduce down to 1/4. I could in fact answer with 1/4. That would be legit. But notice that up here we started with decimals, so we should end with decimals. If we only have whole numbers, then we can kind of choose. If you prefer some decimals, then answer with decimals. If it's a repeating decimal, I would say go with the fraction. It's going to be more accurate. Thanks, folks. Alrighty. Hope this makes sense. If you've got any questions, shoot me a message, and I'll catch you in the next video.